Hey guys, it's Donnie B, and you're listening to episode 21 of Eat It Up. You're officially legally able to drink now. This is Buffalo Eats Podcast, and a very proud member of Audio Buffalo. Thanks for listening again. Today on the show we have Alan Bedenko, who probably most of you might know best as @BuffaloPundit on Twitter. He's a pretty big food guy. He's one of the judges at Nickel City Chef every year, and he's been writing for Buffalo Spree for a long, long time. And he's somebody I've gotten to know over the last couple of years, and somebody who I value his judgment and thoughts on food very highly. So I knew we had to have him come down here and talk, so we basically just did that and talked about his beginnings and a whole bunch of other cool things. I'm going to keep the intro short this week because it's a longer podcast, but I hope you enjoyed the music that played into this. It is my brother Tom's band Streamside with their new song Fallen. If you'd like to download it, we have a link in the show notes. Otherwise,
I'm the first to admit that I'll get into a heated discussion with somebody on Twitter or on the blog or something like that if I feel that an argument is there to be had and if it piques my interest.
Yeah.
So,
you're
but I try to get upset about things that at least I think are important.
Yeah.
Or I like to get upset if I think somebody is making a claim that they can't back up.
Okay.
And I want them to back it up. Because that's, when you train as a lawyer, that's what you do. That's your first year of law school, is being trained to think like a lawyer, and that is making a statement and then having to back it up.
Oh, yeah.
With
Facts.
some sort of, or even just a reasonable argument.
Yeah.
So I like to poke people and see if they can come up with reasonable arguments.
This was going to be later on in our conversation. I mean, the first time I knew about you was through Twitter. Because I wasn't big into the blogging scene before I started Buffalo Eats. I know that, you've been blogging since like early 2000s, right?
03.
Yeah. And so I saw Buffalo Pundit, and I saw like you got a lot of followers, and I always saw you guys you being mentioned and things like that. And then you pick up on some interesting arguments that occur online. How did you get into the blogging world?
The way it started was I was working as part of the 2004 presidential campaign. I was a supporter of Wesley Clark, who had been a general in the Kosovo conflict. And at the time, this is in late 2003, we had just started the war in Iraq, and I thought it was going poorly. I thought it was poorly planned out. I thought that there wasn't a good rationale for it. Yeah. So as a Democrat, actually I was a Republican at the time, but I didn't like George W. Bush. I was still a Republican, and I wanted to find someone to challenge him. And I switched parties. And of all the Democrats who were, gaining in popularity at the time in, late 2003, it was Howard Dean, Kerry to a smaller extent, and Wesley Clark. People were trying to draft this guy. So I got involved in that locally. Okay. We got him to run. He didn't do very well. But the blog was set up originally because it was just the easiest way to throw up a website to get events out and news out about what we were doing. Yeah. And when he dropped out of the race, I started blogging about national stuff. And that's when Daily Kos and all those guys were really becoming popular, was in 2004, because they were all Deaniacs. They were all Howard Dean supporters who were, jilted ultimately after Iowa. Yeah. And that whole medium was really, really growing, especially for that. And then I found out, I'm one of a million people talking about the same exact thing. Yeah. And I still talk about national politics to a certain degree, but I was a small fish in a big pond, and I realized no one was really talking about stuff that's going on in Buffalo. We had the Buffalo News, you had talk radio, and that's it. There was nothing else. There were a couple of bulletin boards and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I started to focus more on Buffalo things, and I was one of the first. I can't say the first. I was one of the first to talk about politics locally, and I never stopped. So
have you been interested in writing in general, or?
Yeah. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a journalist. Growing up, I grew up mostly in the 80s, and that was under Reagan. You had all kinds of wars, people, getting kidnapped in Beirut and all this, people blowing up. And a buddy of mine, his father was, I grew up downstate. Yeah. He was an executive at ABC News and then at CBS News. Wow. So I was kind of plugged into the way that world worked, and I thought it was fascinating. And I looked at guys like, I'll never forget the name Garrett Utley, because Garrett Utley was a guy for NBC who every night when you'd watch the nightly news, and this is before you had 500 channels, you had 7 channels, he would be in a different place in the world. You know, Garrett Utley reporting from London, Garrett Utley reporting from Beirut, Garrett Utley reporting from wherever the hell. And I said, that's cool, because I love to travel, I love the news, I love, current events. So I wanted to be a journalist, but I never went down that path. So this is the closest I can get.
Yeah, well, I mean, it works. I think you've definitely built an audience, it seems.
Yeah.
And I mean, now that you're with Artvoice, it seems like you got some good stuff going.
Yeah, it's fun. It's been a good transition to blog for those guys, because they have a little bit of a different audience than what Chris and I do.
Yeah.
So we're kind of blending two diverse audiences, but ultimately, even though I might not agree with preservationists all the time or with the arts community all the time, we're still pretty much all liberal Democrats, and on the bigger picture issues, we're going to generally agree. So it's not like they brought in some lunatic right winger to write for Artvoice, which is kind of good.
No. Yeah, I mean, you guys definitely fit in. I think it's worked so far. I mean, how long have you guys been on Artvoice? It's been a couple months at least. We
left WNY Media in November after the election.
Okay.
So it was right around Thanksgiving time.
Okay.
Because we figured it would be enough of a lull. People don't really read during the holidays, so we figured we'd do it during that transition, so that when things picked up after the new year, it would already sort of be something established.
Were you guys like a package?
I think Chris originally approached them about doing something, and I tagged along because
I mean, for some reason I've always associated you guys together.
We're very close friends, and we think a lot alike, and we have a similar, we're similar in a lot of ways. We're big fat white guys. We have families. We live in the suburbs, young families. We have little kids.
Yeah.
A lot of the problems that we have, a lot of the issues that we run into, they're very similar. Mm-hmm. So it's just, we've become very good friends, and it translates itself nicely also into the online thing.
Yeah.
So. I
mean, since you've been blogging, like Twitter has blown up and is now a huge thing.
Yeah.
How do you feel now, like when you write an article, that you can almost get you always could get comments, I guess.
Yeah.
But now it seems like it's a lot easier for somebody to send you a message, and you can have a back and forth, as opposed to a comment. You kind of post something, then check back later and see. Has that changed? Have you noticed a change in how people react to your comment or your articles, or?
It sort of depends. I don't care as much about comments on the blog as I used to.
Okay.
We used to judge, the popularity of the site or the popularity of a post or the popularity of a writer based on how many comments they got, but that's really a bad metric to use.
Yeah.
Because a very small percentage of people who are reading the content are leaving any kind of comment. And 9 times out of 10, if you agree with it, what are you going to comment? You say, hey, good job, hey, I agree. No one writes that. No one goes out of their way to write that. With Twitter, it's interesting because it's more of an immediate feedback. It's it's a cross between a comment on a blog and an instant message.
Yeah.
There's something more of an immediacy to it, and it's out in public. So, we try to leverage social media to get people to the site. I don't know if it's working really well yet.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I mean, you have a pretty popular Twitter handle. I mean, in terms of just pure number of followers and things like that.
Yeah. And I try to follow people back for the most part. I mean, it's crazy the feed that goes by.
Yeah, you follow a couple thousand, right?
Yeah.
I see that gives me anxiety. I don't know if I could keep track of what's going on.
You can't. Well, what I do is if somebody follows me and I get the email from Twitter, I click on their profile. Uh-huh. The first thing I do is if they have more than 10,000 followers and they're not a celebrity, I'm kicking them out. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in social media experts. I'm not interested in people who want to teach me about how to brand myself.
Yeah.
I don't want people who want to teach me about, leveraging social media, etc. I don't want to know from that. I want to follow interesting people who have interesting things to say. For the most part, it's going to be local, but I also follow food people. I follow international people, news people, that kind of thing. So I click on the profile, and I will look at maybe the last 30 to 50 tweets that they sent. If there's anything interesting in there, I will follow them back. If there isn't, if it's all retweets or it's garbage or it's noise, I generally won't. I'll make a few exceptions, but
I like it's like you have like a used car dealership. You have like a checklist.
Yeah, well, you have to. Because you got to figure, is following this person worth my time? Exactly. And sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. It really all depends. And sometimes I go out and I try to find, if you're. The thing that kind of sucks about Twitter is that they took away the thing where, if somebody that you follow replies somebody that you don't follow, you don't see that in your feed. Yeah. I don't really like that because I found a lot of cool followers that way back in the olden days. Yeah. Not so much now, but that's the other thing. I try to follow along. If people are having interesting conversations, there might be somebody in that conversation who's worth following. So,
it's a weird system to have like an actual long argument with somebody. It's a little tricky because as you're typing something, you're getting a response back. Yeah. I mean, you don't get scared away from having those conversations, clearly. No. But I mean, is there some frustration about having trying to have like a well thought argument back and forth?
It depends. I've gotten into arguments with people where, if I run into the 140 character limit, I'll just hit enter and I'll keep saying what I want to say and I'll keep hitting enter until I'm done. Because, why not? Yeah, exactly. If I'm going to argue with somebody, I might as well argue with them in a competent way. Yeah. I don't want to, turn great into GR8 if I don't have to. I don't want to make things smaller and look like a text message.
Yeah, somehow it detracts from it in a reasonable sense.
But if I get really pissed, I know it happened recently. I know it happened a couple weeks ago that somebody set me off, and I went off on I know who it was, and I deleted all of them, so I don't want to talk about it. All right. Because we made up, and it's okay. But I remember I was just hit and enter, and
Did you ever get yelled at by your wife to get off your phone?
She doesn't really. No, she doesn't. I don't get the notifications on the phone. Oh, okay. I have that shut off, so literally I have to actively seek it out. So I'm not on it when I'm with the kids and stuff. I'm not on it. It's on in the background during the day, and if I take a break.
Yeah, I need to turn it off sometimes, I think.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It needs to be turned off a lot.
All right. That was going to be later on, but since you started it,
we can roll.
I figured why not? We'll dive right into that. Because I think even me and you had once a spirited conversation back and forth about the merits of Taste of Buffalo or something like that. Yeah. And it's just like anytime you have one of those conversations, I think the worst part is if you're really engaging with somebody one-on-one. Yeah. You get somebody else who chimes in, and then at that point you're trying to read.
And it's I'm not talking about you. I don't want to involve you. I'm talking to Donnie right now.
Yeah, and then I gotta
cool it,
and then I have to look through my stream wait, who the hell is this guy who just added a comment?
Well, that happens now on Facebook too. I mean, I belong to the foodies group, okay, and Chris Taylor posted something like, hey, who goes to the Taste of Buffalo, right? And there was 30 comments.
That was a popular one.
Yeah, and I wrote I caught it at the tail end, and I said, I don't really go. It's not my thing. It's hot, and you know what it is. My parents came here from a communist country. We used to go all the time, and it was great. During those times, if you went to a store, and let's say you wanted to buy a pen, you would go and you would pick out the pen. And then they'd give you a slip, and you had to take the slip to the cashier, and the cashier you would pay, and then you'd take another slip back to get the pen. Wow! So it was the most convoluted and stupid and idiotic system you could conceive of. But the reason why they had it was you had to have full employment, so you had to hire the stupid woman to do this over here, and the stupid clerk to do this over here. So you can't fire people, right? So it's the same thing at the Taste of Buffalo. I got to get a ticket. I got to pay a ticket so that I can eat food. I got to stand in line to get the ticket. I got to stand in line to get the food. I got to stand in line to have a beer. I can't have a beer outside where the tent is because, God forbid, a kid sees a beer. Or what'll happen? It's Buffalo. No one drinks here.
No.
It's just a stupid system. Honestly, what they should do.
Yeah.
They should. Well, I guess let me backtrack for a second. It all depends on what you think the Taste of Buffalo is.
Yes.
Because if the Taste of Buffalo is about celebrating Western New York's culinary excellence, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Okay? But if it's just about, hey, here's a big food court and it's hot out, then you're in the right place.
Yeah.
I like what Krista did last year with Nickel City Chef being set up there. I thought that they were too far on the periphery, but I thought it was a fantastic addition, and it was a good way to get more of the culinary side of it into the event rather than just, hey, how many wings and fried things can I eat at once?
And also, I think also enforcing as much local as possible. Because while the Taste of Buffalo is primarily local,
Applebee's is there.
You'll still see a huge Applebee's and a huge Jack Astor's. And I understand they got to find the big fish that are going to pay for a huge tent. But
that's not the Taste of Buffalo.
True.
That's the Taste of Jack Astor's, which is also the Taste of Indianapolis and is also the Taste of Fargo. Yeah. So, if the point is, they should absolutely be rid of chains. The other thing that was interesting, because Chris was posting about it, my question for him was, when you get to serve at the Taste, are they going to make you stick to that same stupid rule about you can only have 4 things and they can only be in 50-cent ticket increments and all that other because the guy's got a proper menu. Mm-hmm. He's got a proper menu that he can serve from that truck. There's nothing that's stopping him from serving all of those menu items from that truck for cash if he wants to. Except the only thing that's stopping him is the fact that it's a special event that's being put on with the cooperation of Buffalo Place, so he can't do it the way that he frankly should be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, and not just him, but I mean, theoretically, all the food trucks.
Right. Which there's a new one. There's a cupcake truck.
Yeah. There. So actually, that's how I was going to start this conversation. I was going to ask you.
We can jump around.
How was the Sweet Hearth?
Good.
Yeah?
It was very good. I generally don't eat dessert.
Yeah.
Despite my size, but I tried it to try it, and I got the red velvet cupcake, which was excellent.
Ellie will be very excited to hear that.
And I'm not a cupcake fanatic. I'm not an aficionado. Yeah, I'm not a connoisseur. So I don't know one red velvet cupcake from another, but this one was very, very good. It had a nice cream cheese frosting that wasn't too. It wasn't too sweet. Had a nice little cream cheese tang to it. The red velvet was very moist. It was very nicely done. It wasn't dry at all.
Yeah.
And then the cookie was fantastic. It had a little bit of coconut in it, a little bit of salt at the end. It had the white chocolate chip. It was white chocolate chip oatmeal. It was really fantastic. Really good.
I mean, so they're not actually. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but I can't imagine they're making these desserts.
No, she wasn't baking them in the truck, although it looked like it could possibly be equipped to do that.
Yeah, it just seems weird. Why do you need a huge
I thought
food
the same
truck?
thing. You could do it out of a van, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because she just had, containers filled with her product, and, that's what she served people from, which is fine. I mean, I guess, if you think of it this way, I'm not sure, but it appears as if that might be a standalone business as well. I'm not sure.
I see.
But if it is, it's a fantastic rolling billboard for them.
It is.
Because it'll get, there's people in the Larkin building who have never heard of them, and they would have had their product today. They might have a location. I don't know if they do or don't. But, if they do, what a great idea. You buy a truck for whatever it costs.
Or just a gutted truck, so there's none of that expensive.
No, she got it from the same place that Cheesy Chick did and Roaming Buffalo did. Miami Trucks. Yeah, so they did a great job.
Nice.
Yeah,
well, nice. I'm excited. I'm always nervous when a new food truck pops. I was nervous with the Cheesy Chick. She's
great.
Yeah, we finally had it. We were right there right after you left with the Nutella.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised. It was really, really good.
Yeah, I had it a couple weeks ago. I tried one, and Chris was with me. He tried a different one. He loved his. He had the Italian one. I had the one with the turkey and Swiss and coleslaw. It was great.
Yeah,
it's something different. It's you don't work downtown. I work downtown, and it's shocking sometimes how limited your choices are downtown, and you get really caught into a rut because downtown's not that compact.
Yeah.
And I don't, I try to limit how much time I take for lunch, so I don't want to be walking 30 minutes and there and 30 minutes back if I don't have to. So I really limit myself to staying within a certain geographical range if I'm not getting in the car, and it's not a lot. No. I go to Liquid Energy all the time now, and I just get a wrap. That's what I do. Go-to. Yeah.
I mean, I worked in Allentown for a couple of years, and even then, there's a nice walking range. I mean, you can go to basically anything on Allen or down Delaware, but after 6 months, it's like...
Yeah, how many times am I going to eat the same thing?
Yeah, I can't have Fat Bob's every day. I'm not a big fan.
I'm not gonna denigrate Fat Bob's on your show.
No,
I'm not a big fan.
I'm not a huge fan. It was when in mood.
What you should have used as an example. Were you working on Allen Street when what's his face, the falafel bar was here?
Yes,
because that was a great lunch place. That was a fantastic go-to joint. Mm-hmm. You could get a salad, you could get a falafel. He has great food. Yeah. The fact that he left this, downtown, quote unquote, is, I think, a big disappointment. He should have a truck, quite frankly.
I'm waiting for a falafel truck or a shawarma truck.
Yeah.
Why has that not happened?
I don't know, man. I was in D.C. a couple weeks ago, and we came out of the train station, and it was around lunchtime on a Monday. I want to say it was a Monday. And there was just a line of food trucks right down the street. Nobody stopping them. I don't know what their laws are like. I don't know what their rules are like. But it was a crepe truck and a halal truck and a barbecue truck and a whole load of them. And just parked. Big food court.
Yeah.
And each one looked great. Each one looked like something I would want to try.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, here we've got, 5 or 6, maybe a small handful of those are really worth it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And it's almost impossible for them to load up on one area because I don't know if they could, if there's a specific area that could handle 5 trucks at a time or something like that.
Well, see, that's the thing that's weird about the rule that they put in place about the special events, right? Because that's the perfect thing. If there's a special event, they should be able to set up all of them.
Yeah. If Taste of Buffalo is smart, they'll put all 5 in a row, but
right in the middle, right in the center there. They won't. No. And really, the Taste of Buffalo, it's like we discovered, Ms. Goodies. Yeah. That's like, out of all of the places that we tried, that's the place that we
stuck
out. But it's not something you would ever eat more than once a year because it's like deep frying a sandwich. I mean, basically, right?
It's a foot long deep fried fish, right? Is that the one you're talking about?
It's the fish fry with French fries and coleslaw, and then they deep fry the whole thing when it's done, and it's insane. It's fantastic, but it's like you die a little bit when you eat it.
That plus the 90-degree humidity.
Then the heat and the humidity, and you're just like, ugh. We invented restaurants for a reason, There's a reason we don't do this. We don't eat outside. We don't graze.
Exactly.
But
when did you have you always been an adventurous eater since you were a kid?
Not at all.
No?
Hell no. Well, you got to remember, even growing up downstate in the 80s or in the 70s, I'm sure there was a lot of food to try that would have been avant-garde or on the cutting edge of something. My parents weren't those people. If we went out to dinner, I always pushed for the city. I like the city. I like the vibe of the city. I like seeing things. I like walking around and doing or seeing things. Yeah. I don't like being in the country. So it was like, where we lived in White Plains. If we were driving north, I was very angry because that meant we were going in the woods. If we were going south, I was quite happy because that meant there's a chance we're going into the city. So if we ate in the city, there was stuff to try, but it wasn't exactly like we were going to any wonderland.
Yeah.
What my parents really enjoyed were these little sort of cottagey restaurants they're all throughout Connecticut and Upper Westchester County, where you would get really good Northern Italian food, you'd get really good French food, and they like the whole, which fork are you supposed to use and tablecloths and all. They like that. So I would go to those dinners quite often, and I wasn't a huge fan growing up.
Okay.
And it really wasn't until maybe college that I started trying different stuff that I wasn't,
Yeah.
that I didn't grow up on. Something beyond hamburgers and hot dogs, right?
Just because it was around you, or just because?
Well, I went to school in Boston.
Oh, okay.
And it was the late 80s. So there was more experimentation going on. In the 80s, there wasn't a lot of Mexican. There wasn't a lot of ethnic food. It was, especially in Boston, it was a lot of Greek guys making horrible ethnic food that wasn't Greek. So it'd be like horrible Greek pizzeria or horrible Greek, sub shop where the guy was just belligerent and, just talk down to you.
Nice.
You'd complain about your meal and he says, in Middle East, shopkeeper obey. Customer obey the shopkeeper. So, those types
Nice.
of...
Yeah, that's a good dining experience.
Yeah. So, and in Boston, it being the place that it is, it being a busy place where, we were out of that. Part of the reason we left is that, you'd leave the house at 7, you wouldn't get back until 7, right? Because of the traffic and working hard and so on and so forth. So that's part of the reason we moved to Western New York. My wife's originally from here. So eating out in Boston more often than not was, I don't have anything in the fridge. I don't have time to cook it. I don't want to clean it. I'm going to go to the burrito place, and that's my dinner. I'm going to go to the pizza place. That's my dinner. I'm going to stop at the liquor store and get a 6-pack, and I'm going to stop at Uno's and pick up pizza. It was that basic. So, Trader Joe's came in. The frozen food section there is like manna from heaven, for somebody who doesn't have time to cook.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You throw a burrito in the microwave and you're done. You're set.
My buddy lives in New York City, and he lives and dies by Trader Joe's. It's right down the street. And
it's great.
And $4 wines.
Right. That's right. You do that, too. And they're not crappy wines.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
good wines. They're wines you can see yourself drinking.
Yeah.
Because you can get all kinds of $2 wines.
Yeah.
$3 wines.
Actually drinkable. $4 is impressive.
Yeah. But, I didn't really start getting into, food as being a topic.
Yeah.
Until really relatively recently.
Has it been something that you've wanted to install in your kids now that you got that chance?
Well, that depends.
Because, I've seen you've gone on some pretty awesome food adventures to D.C. and even Vegas, going out there.
Yeah. I didn't take them to Vegas.
Oh,
we did the kids when we went to we were out west recently. Kids had In-N-Out for the first time. Loved it. Right? You can't not love it. Yeah. And even my little one, who doesn't generally like burgers, liked the burgers there.
Nice. That's saying something.
We went to Bazaar by Jose Andres, which was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing about him and the great thing about his restaurants is he doesn't have a kids menu, but he factors in that there's probably going to be kids there. Yeah. So you can't call it chicken fingers, but there's a chicken finger dish on the menu. Seriously. There's awesome. You get little fried chicken strips and a little dipping sauce. You order that for the kids. The kids can't say no to that. They ordered some kind of, it was like a virgin martini kind of thing, but it was served with, it was lime juice, so they weren't crazy about the lime. But it was served with a big thing of cotton candy, and then they pour the liquid on it, and the cotton candy dissolves. So it's sugary and limey. Didn't like it, but they thought it was cool.
Yeah, the whole presentation.
Yeah, it was fun. And then they move you off. You have your dinner. The kids were great, and then they move you off. They get you up and move you to the dessert section.
Nice.
And they give you chocolate covered Pop Rocks. Again.
Yeah,
kid
like
loves
awesome.
that.
Yeah,
and that's free too. Oh, wow. And then you order dessert, and it's fun. I think that they're getting. I hope that they're getting an appreciation for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But more often than not, we're up in Toronto and going to the pizza place, and that's easy.
That's Pizza Libretto?
Libretto's my favorite.
Because we're planning on going up to Toronto, I think, next month, and I was going to hit you up for some recommendations.
Yeah, Libretto for pizza, because I saw the pizzas you guys had in the city.
Yeah.
I think one was at Italy, and another one...
Was that?
Did you have it twice?
We went to Italy, we went to Keste, which is in the West Village, which was all right.
I saw the pictures. They looked great.
It was good, but we had a really good one at this place, La Pizza Fresca,
which
is VPN certified, and that was That was just...
It makes a difference.
It does. I know you've always talked about it. I guess we'll talk about pizza now.
Sure.
I know you're a huge pizza fan, and I had admittedly had no idea what VPN was until you wrote me a very long comment on my Romeo and Juliet post.
I'm an evangelist for this, for lack of a better term.
I was nervous because I saw a huge comment. I was like, oh, shit.
No. And I was trying not to be a dick.
Yeah.
I was really trying not to be a dick because I don't think the way to persuade people about something that you believe in or that you feel passionately about is to be a dick about it.
Yeah.
Really, it's... The fact, first of all, that we don't have one in this town disgusts me. But having said that, there are reasonable facsimiles that are okay. Mm-hmm. But I'm a big proponent of the way in which they're done because I think they're excellent tasting. Yeah. I think that they look great, they taste great. And they're healthy, quite frankly. It's just bread and tomato and cheese. I mean, it's not that bad for you.
Yeah,
there's a lot. It's better than chicken wings.
Exactly. And especially just even the classic margarita with just which is my
little bit of basil.
Yeah, just basil, mozzarella, and tomato. I don't need anything else.
It's a perfect food.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah. But when we went to the VPN one, like it was like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I do get that a lot. It's. Yeah.
Well, I mean, where did your love of pizza come from?
Oh,
or even just
growing up in New York.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
We would go. It's funny. I had to go. My parents don't live in White Plains. They still live in Westchester. They don't live in White Plains anymore. And I had to go to White Plains a couple years ago for some conference. And I'm driving around the old neighborhood, and I'm getting to know the place again. It's changed a lot in 25 years. But the pizza place we used to get pies from is still there. It's called Magnata's, and that's where I had lunch the day I had to drive back to Buffalo. I stopped at Magnata's and I had a couple slices and a Dr. Pepper, which is what I always used to have when I was a kid. And it's just so good and it's so simple. And these guys, they're complete assholes and they throw the pizza at you and it's all greasy and it's on a paper plate. But it's it's part of home. It's part of
yeah.
You go to Zeddy's. It's a very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Experience.
That's what I've heard. Is that
it's not exactly. You're not going to get people with doves and hearts flying around their heads serving you your food. It's going to be a bunch of assholes, having a horrible attitude, giving you, sometimes good, sometimes not good slices. Yeah. But Zeddy's, when I found Zeddy's, when I moved here, I detested buffalo pizza. I thought it was horrible.
The traditional thicker, but it's kind of sloppy.
Right, it's floppy.
Yes.
It shouldn't be cooked in a pan. That's what makes it floppy.
Yeah.
You cook it on the stone, that's what makes it firm underneath. The only one that I'll eat that's good, that's a buffalo-style pizza, is this Paulie's.
In Clarence?
Yeah, there's one in Clarence, but the original is in Batavia, because he makes buffalo-style pizza with two differences. The first is he doesn't use the super sweet sauce. And the second is he doesn't bake it in a pan, so it's not floppy. And that's all the change it needs, and I'll eat it every day. It's fantastic. Yeah. But Zeddy's is one of the closest ones to what I grew up with. So when I discovered it, I kind of half-assedly declared it, the best New York-style pizza in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And we used to get it all the time. We don't get it that often anymore. And now I have other favorites that I like locally.
Buzzy's is pretty good.
Buzzy's is pretty good.
Niagara Falls, you got to kind of...
It's a hike. Yeah. Buzzy's is good. La Hacienda in the Falls
that's what I was
is better.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. La Hacienda, yeah.
But they're not only are they a hike, but they have weird hours and they don't take credit cards. And then I like Rocco's is decent. I made a list on Yelp. Rocco's is decent, which is similar to Sienna and what's the other one?
It seemed like Maple. They had some...
They had growing pains.
Yeah, they had some growing pains.
When they first opened, and they had these wood-burning ovens, and I was very hopeful that, that's right, my quest was at an end, right? Not only my quest at an end, but these guys are like right around the corner from my house.
It was like the stars were aligning.
Perfect. Now I don't have to go far for a good pie.
Yeah.
And they're doing wood-burning. The first bunch of times we went, I gave them a lot of chances, and the wings there are phenomenal. They make a wood grilled wing that's really, really good.
Yeah.
but the pizza needed a lot of work. And the reason I knew, like I do this a lot. Like I try to keep my sense memory is very short, so I try to go in quick succession to a place.
Yeah.
Like I did that like the day before I knew I was having In-N-Out. I had Five Guys so that I can compare the two as best I can.
We should do that.
And In-N-Out is totally better. 100% better than Five Guys. That's not Five Guys doesn't suck.
No,
Five Guys is great, but In-N-Out is 100 times better. So likewise, I had Rocco's a couple times, and the thing I was noticing was when I would eat a slice, the crust was so hard that it would like cut the inside of my mouth. And I'm like, this isn't right. No. Whatever they're doing, I don't know what they're doing wrong, but whatever they're doing is wrong. And then so one day we had Rocco's, and then we went up to Toronto, and we had libretto or pizza, one of them. And it's like, see, you don't have to have pain when you eat pizza. You don't have to bleed out your mouth when you're eating a slice, right? So,
yeah.
But they've improved it. They I think they brought somebody in to sort of say, no, you're doing it all wrong.
Yeah.
And it's not all right. And that's two words. And it's not all correct. It's not all right. It's all right. It's okay.
Okay.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's passable. It's not my favorite. It's quite expensive.
Yeah.
So that's why we go to Paulie's more often for takeout.
You're gonna have to hit that up.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's not the best, but it's really good. And if you do go, the pizza's good enough. Although I will say, the smalls and the mediums suck compared to getting just a large.
Really?
Because I don't know what it is. I don't know what the difference is, but we've gotten a small and a medium, and they suck. You get a large, and it's fantastic. Yeah. And also get the fried dough is incredible.
So, I mean, do you use this process when you review restaurants for Buffalo Spree? I mean, I know you're I'm assuming you're a proponent of multiple visits before you write your...
I try to. They don't really pay enough to justify that all the time. And I've done it when they ask me to.
Yeah.
What I try to do for Spree reviews is bring as many people as I can so I can at least try a little bit of something.
And that's always actually... I enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not reviewing something, just to...
Yeah, she sent me to...
it's more fun that way.
Yeah, it is. And she sent me to Zambistro out in Medina.
Oh, okay.
So we went, and my in-laws are in town, so all of us tried a little bit of something. It was quite good.
Yeah.
So I have to write that up.
When did that start? How did you get involved with the restaurant reviews?
There's that website, the Rappaport website.
Yes.
And I was contributing to that.
Okay.
And Elizabeth Licata saw some of my reviews and liked them and contacted me through email.
Nice.
I don't know how she got my email, but maybe she got it through Bill Rappaport. And I've been writing for them since, I think, 2004.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a long time.
I didn't know it was that long.
And used to be I was like the only one doing them.
Oh, really?
And it's much better now that we have lots of people.
Yeah.
Number one, you get more of a sense of what's going on. It's good to have different people writing about stuff.
Yeah.
I can't be on top of everything that's going on. I'm barely on top of what's going on anymore. But also what happened was when we had our first kid, she was great. She was really easy to take to restaurants. I could take her as not an infant, but as a toddler. I could take her to the fanciest restaurants, and she would sit there and she would color and be quiet. And we can enjoy a nice meal and review the place, and it was never a problem.
Yeah.
Her younger sister is a completely different story, and she, to this day, is still a handful when we take her out. So the caliber of place we can go is somewhat self-limited because it's sometimes not worth the hassle. She can be very good. Like we've taken her to nice places, and she can be great. But it wasn't always thus. Wasn't always that way.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was actually. I don't know how I got onto the archives of Buffalo Sprees, but I saw a review from you from 2005, and I was like, wow, like I had no idea it's been going on that long.
And back then, it was interesting because I had this perception that most of the really fine dining in the area was in Toronto, or not in Toronto, in Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Yeah.
And I'm still a fan of a lot of those places, but I've changed my mind on that. I think Niagara-on-the-Lake is great, but it's Toronto's Southampton. It's Toronto's Hamptons, right?
Okay.
So it's very expensive. It's very trendy. Some places are good, some places are not so good, and it changes a lot. Whereas here, for the most part, there's, I think, more risk-taking, there's more innovation, and places seem to be, some places, not all places, but some places seem to be relatively consistent in terms of their quality. And I think that's a big change from even 10 years ago. Really?
I mean, do you see, I mean, writing about restaurant reviews for almost 8 years now, I mean, have you seen an upswing in the quality or diversity of the restaurants in the city?
Yeah, I think that there's more of a willingness of people to try different things.
Yeah. I mean, definitely the culture has changed.
Right. But I think the biggest thing that's changed in the time that I've been writing for the Spree has been the quality of service that you get in a restaurant.
Really?
When I first started writing, service was always horrible. Not, well, that's maybe strong, but there was always something wrong. It's like there's an axiom that I have in terms of Western New York dining. It's find the misspelling on the menu.
Yeah.
Every menu in Western New York has one thing spelled wrong, minimum. And it doesn't have to be spelling. It could be punctuation. It could be some grammatical error. I guarantee you go to the Chop House, there will be something spelled wrong on that menu. Promise. And it's usually Caesar. So as it goes with menus, that there's always something wrong with them. There was always something wrong with the service, but that's changed a lot. I don't find that as big of a problem as it used to be, because I like my service to be friendly enough and get out of my way enough and competent and just get me, if you see that my water's empty, refill it. If you see that my wine is empty, refill it. Ask me before you take my crap away. It's basic stuff, but I didn't used to get that.
Really?
10 years ago, you didn't get that.
Yeah, we kind of say, like, if I don't notice this service, then usually that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Like, if I'm not, like, wondering why something hasn't been delivered or why I'm waiting for my check, like, as long as I don't notice anything, I feel like they did a good job.
Then they did a good job. Yeah, that's a good one.
Because I don't want the over-the-top, talk to me and I'll tell them my whole life story. Like, no. I'm not into that. I just want to
I don't even want to know their name. I don't want to know that your name is Sheila and you're going to be helping me today. I just want to know what the specials are. Order me I'll order my wine or whatever. I don't even drink cocktails. That's the thing. Everyone with the cocktails now. What is this, right?
It's a new, it's the new upswing.
Christ almighty, it's insane. The thing about it, the cocktails, right? First of all, I don't like cocktail. I like the gin and tonic. That's about it.
Okay, I'm
not a cocktail guy. And the reason I'm not a cocktail guy is because cocktails exist to get you hammered.
True.
And I don't like to be hammered.
Yeah.
I'm well beyond that. If I'm going to get hammered, I'm going to drink wine in my house at my table and then go upstairs. Yeah. Because I got to drive somewhere. If I'm out getting hammered, I got to drive some place. Yeah. Okay? And I don't need that. I don't need that hassle. I don't need to be Coruscanti on trial because I hit a girl. Number one. And number two, not only does it only exist to get you hammered, in my opinion, but it exists to get you a certain kind of hammered that I don't like. I don't like that drunk. I don't like cocktail drunk. I don't like hard liquor drunk.
No.
I like wine drunk. I like beer drunk.
There's a difference between them, isn't there? I feel like a beer drunk's more happy. I don't know. Well, maybe for me.
I'm happy drunk anyway. Yeah. I'm not an angry drunk.
Yeah.
Thank God.
And wine's definitely more of a calm type. I don't know.
It gives you a headache, though, sometimes.
True.
More often than beer.
Yeah.
But I like wine.
I mean, there is, like, I was talking to Mike Andrzejewski, and he was telling me about this guy he's bringing in for Mike A's.
Right.
And he's bringing in almost like a cocktail chef, like to head the bar.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's part of it. That there is some type of.
Look, I don't want to knock people being creative.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing.
No, that's it's definitely a certain demographic. But, and you know what has been the most surprising thing for me is a place like Vera and Cantina Loco.
Yeah.
Is these cocktails are not cheap.
Right. That's another thing.
$10 or $12 a drink, and I'm shocked at the young audience that
can afford that.
That are going there, that are these hipster kids that are. Yeah. I'm like, where the hell are you getting this money from?
Well, and I see you guys going out, and I'm like, how are these guys doing? Because when I was your age, I couldn't afford to do what you guys do.
It's rough.
And and now it's rough, right? But it's rough with kids too. I mean,
that's true.
I got bills paid for before I even leave the house. You know what I'm saying? So it's very, very difficult to maintain. I will splurge.
Yeah.
When I know it's worth it to splurge.
We're still at a phase of Buffalo Eats where we're trying restaurants that we haven't tried yet.
Yeah.
Like, we very rarely repeat restaurants, which is my biggest.
Which is good.
it's good, but it's like I just want to eat at Shango. I don't want to go somewhere new.
I know exactly.
And but like, and so I'm literally I'm going to a restaurant that I have and I hate to go in with like a preconceived notion, but I go into a restaurant feeling like I'm probably not gonna like this, and then I go there and it's mediocre, and then I come back and I'm like, well, that was great. I'm gonna spend $60 to write a review about okay food.
Yeah,
and that is the worst review. Like horrible is easy to write about, great is easy to write about, but if it's okay, then you're just like.
I love writing negative reviews. I love writing negative reviews because they flow.
Yeah.
Because when you leave a bad experience, you have a passion about that bad experience.
Yes.
You leave a good experience, you're not necessarily going to be passionate about it. You will be satisfied about it. You leave a bad experience, you're pissed. You're passionately pissed about it.
Yeah.
And you want to let everybody know about it. And I think, I don't know if she's confirmed this for me or not, but I think the review that Elizabeth found me through was for a place up near me called Rizzo's.
Okay.
And I went to Rizzo's, this is maybe close to 10 years ago. Never been back. No, I went back once to try their pizza because it looked reasonably good and it sucked. But I went to Rizzo's on a Friday night. Service was horrible. They ignored us the entire time. Everybody around us is getting ordered food. I had a 2-year-old kid who was hungry and starting to fuss, and they're ignoring us. And I think I actually, and I'm not the kind of person to complain to their face, but I complained to their face. And then I mother effed them to Kingdom Come on Rappaport's site.
Okay.
And it's still there. If you look up Rizzo's on New Road, you look up that review. That was one of my favorite reviews to write, and I reread it once in a while just to see like if there were mistakes or if there's bad grammar or something like that. It's like, no, that's a pretty damn good review. So, I don't get to write them as often anymore.
I was gonna say, I mean, Buffalo's pretty. I don't know if it's policy, but they don't.
They don't like negative reviews.
Exactly.
I think, what I was told when I first started was, look, if the place really sucks, move on to the next place because we don't exist to bash places.
Yeah.
Now, I see where they're coming from. They have a business to run. Mm-hmm. But by the same token, I think if a place really sucks, you ought to tell people.
Yeah.
And I think blogging kind of lets me do that because I can post mini reviews to the Spree website if I want to. I don't do it that often, but I have. But if I have a really crappy review, I'll just stick it on Artvoice. I'll stick it on my blog, and I'll tell them how I feel. Right. But I think there were three. Like I'm never effusive with praise with a place. There's always something wrong that you can sort of pick out, and I do. But there were a couple places that I said to her, is like, you've got to let me write this negative review. The place is really horrible, and people shouldn't spend their money. You should tell people, don't spend your money here. And those places were Just Pasta.
Okay.
After the original owners sold it, and before it became Aroma on Bryant. She let me write that, so if you look on the archives, that might be up. Just Pasta. There was a place called Duo.
Yes.
Right,
which
on Franklin Street. Right, now it's Bambino. That was a bad review. And that one was great because it was like... And I know where you're coming from with the money thing and having a mediocre meal because, like, when I went to the place in Medina, the entire time I'm thinking, God, I really wish I was going to Shango. I really wish I was going to one of my favorite places because I know I'm going to drop a lot of money.
Yeah.
It could be great, but it might not. Yeah. And if it's not, I'm going to be really pissed that I dropped all this money on food that's not great. That's the thought process, right? And I could have spent the money on something I knew was going to be great.
Exactly.
But it was good. It wasn't great. But it was good.
Yeah.
But anyway, what was I talking about?
And the third restaurant, you had Duo, Just Pasta.
What was the other one? The last one I did, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know she got bad flack for it. But no, the Duo one, I remember as I'm eating it, and it was me and my wife, and we had hired a babysitter, which is another thing, right?
Yeah.
Before I left the house, I had dropped a C-note on the babysitter. Before I even left my driveway, I'm out $100.
Yeah.
Okay, because we're quite generous with the babysitter. And then I drive all the way downtown to have this shitty meal, and I remember the menu for Duo, everybody talked about, it's like with Vera, everybody talks about the cocktails. Nobody talks about the food. Yeah. To this day, I haven't seen a picture of their pizza except maybe one you might have posted.
Yeah.
Same thing with Duo. Everyone was talking about how beautifully designed it was. Nobody talked about, the fact the food was pretty crappy and the service was worse. So we walk in, I look at the menu, and their specialty is their meatball. It was the Duo meatball. I love meatballs. Give me that all day. I'll eat it all day. I ordered the meatball. I go to chefs. I just eat the meatball. I don't get the pasta. I just eat the meatballs. That's it.
All right.
I ordered the meatball, and it came in like I think they call it like a lion's claw bowl. So it's wide, but it has a narrower opening. And they gave me like these two forks that were like the size of skewers, like what you'd use, for shish kebab.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here and I'm trying to cut this frickin' meatball up and get it in my mouth, and I can't. And it was like, this is how I wrote it up in the review. It was like performing arthroscopic surgery. I needed a scope so that I could see the meatball, and I had these two instruments that I was using.
You needed somebody to hold the vacuum,
right? And and I'm performing surgery on this frickin' meatball. I just want to eat put it on a plate and just give it to me. And it wasn't even that good. All that effort, and it wasn't even that good. And I couldn't even tell you what else I had.
Yeah,
because it
just
wasn't memorable.
Yeah.
And I hammered that place. And I think both of those places she let me go ahead with those because they were on their way out anyway.
I see.
Or maybe, I don't know, maybe they owed money for ads or something. I don't know. Maybe there was an ulterior motive, but I know there was a third one. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what I enjoyed most about your restaurant review style, and it's way different than what we do, but I enjoy it because when you say a place is really good, that is a seal of approval for me. Because I know you take food very, I don't want to say very seriously, but seriously enough where you have an eye for something that's really good and unique. And so whenever you give it like a seal of approval, I'm like, all right.
You got to try it. Well, You're very kind. That's very nice of you.
I appreciate the way you write reviews because I know if you're not going to fake it. You're not going to say you're not going to do a restaurant favors thinking that they meant well.
No, and quite the opposite. To me, again, sometimes I do get a babysitter, sometimes I don't. I know that for the Spree, I'm writing for a largely suburban audience.
Yeah.
I think that's less true now than it used to be when I first started. I think it's more city oriented now than it ever was.
Yeah.
But still, it's very got a lot of ads in there for plastic surgeons in Williamsville, if you know what I'm saying. Okay. So there's a particular audience, and even people who are well-to-do here aren't rich. Okay. There are some, but not everybody. And if you got to drop a C note before you leave your driveway, you want to know that the place you're going to is going to be reasonably good, hopefully great. And if it's not, you're going to be disappointed, and you're going to be angry about it, and you're going to have a bad time, as they would say on South Park, right?
Yeah.
So I like to tell the story about what the night was like. I like to be narrative about it, and talk a little bit about service was this. I used to write about the bathrooms look great. Honestly, it was like, is this place worth even my time?
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. Bathrooms are generally great now. But I try to paint a picture of what the experience was like, because I don't think it's always just about the food. Yes, it's obviously the most important part. That's why you're going out. But I think there's an overall experience that you want to have. You want to have a nice time. You want to get good value for your money. You want to get good quality food that tastes nice. I think in most places around here, you get that. There's some places I want to try just to hammer them, because I just assume they're going to suck. Like when Valenti's happened, I just assumed that was going to... I was looking forward to actually eating there.
I really was hoping that you were going to eat there. I know you didn't want to support the business and the moral...
No, we tried to go. I went with Chris. One day at lunch, and it was a Monday, and they just arbitrarily decided they weren't going to be open on Mondays anymore, so they turned us away.
God, that was... When I first reached out to you, I think it was closer to when this whole Valenti's situation ended.
Yeah.
It was the most entertaining thing I've read about the restaurant scene in Buffalo since we started Buffalo Eats. I don't think that could have worked better for a story line.
I thought it was fantastic. I loved the part I loved about it was, I don't know, you're not mean that way. You didn't participate in this, but every Friday we would make fun of Janice Oken's review.
Yeah.
Maybe like 10 of us, right?
Yeah.
On Twitter. And then I turned that into a weekly thing on Artvoice, for the short period of time that she was still writing her reviews. And that one came up, and I think Jeremy Horowitz, vetted the Iron Chef claim.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, right? He's not an Iron... Wait a minute. It's like, hold the phone. So I started leaving comments at the Buffalo News. I started writing it up, and I started updating it. It was just like the stories that were coming out of this little nothing red sauce joint in North Tonawanda. That it's, I mean, literally,
there's nothing special about their menu.
There's nothing. Well, A, but B, you really to offer up red sauce Italian food relatively cheaply to an audience in North Tonawanda, you really have to go out of your way to fail.
Yeah.
You really have to try hard to do poorly. And they did that.
Yeah.
They did that.
And to say you competed on Iron Chef and you're opening a restaurant that serves red sauce Italian, that alone.
He's an iron... And this is the funny thing. Like, I know the woman, the wife, is threatened she's going to bring a lawsuit for libel or slander or whatever. Because that's fantastic. I say, wonderful. First of all, good luck finding a lawyer who's going to take that case. But number two, the second thing is, these guys' entire reputation, to the extent they had one, was built on a lie.
Yeah.
So the heart of a defamation lawsuit is that I've harmed your reputation in some way. Your reputation sucked before I ever came into it. You already had issues.
Yeah.
But your entire premise was a lie. That you were an Iron Chef, and here you are. You can barely make a stuffed banana pepper. That's ridiculous. It's outrageous.
Yeah.
So,
but I couldn't believe how many turns that thing just kept going.
I ended up going to court to watch the eviction, which was great, and it went on. It had legs. That was a great story. That thing had legs, because that started in mid-January, and it was still going on in March, I think. It's still going on. I think they got evicted from their house in Eden. I'm not sure, because people email me still to this day. Hey, this is going on. This is going on. But story's kind of over.
Yeah,
but
there's no point at this to just keep kicking them. I don't know, maybe. But
well, the last thing I heard is that he's looking to open another restaurant.
Oh God!
In Kenmore, I think.
I know where your next review.
Well, if it opens, I'm sure I'll be alerted to it, and I'll go have lunch there. I think actually
aren't you at all nervous though?
Well, see, that's the interesting thing. Two things. The first is, he hired this kid to be his executive chef, and he's visible in the video, the Channel 7 video that we always played. And he's a trained guy. He's a trained cook. And I talked to him, and he told me, look, you would be completely fine. I run that kitchen. I wouldn't let anything leave that kitchen that I wouldn't eat. So, at least as far as that's concerned, that's great.
Okay.
But the thing that's heartbreaking about it, and this is where it comes back to why you shouldn't lie about being an Iron Chef, is that guy took that job based upon the representation that this guy was a trained chef and had been an Iron Chef and was really, skilled in his field. And here's this guy thinking, I'm going to learn something from this, accomplished figure. And it turned out to be quite the opposite. He was the one doing the teaching. But yeah, so what are you going to do? But if he opens another restaurant, I would go just for shits and giggles. How can you not?
Yeah, you're tied to this from now on.
I gotta go.
All right. Well,
and also, I don't think he's the problem.
No,
I don't think Terry's the problem.
No.
I'll just leave it at that.
All right, Alan. Thanks for coming down here. This was a very fun talk.
Thank you.
I'm glad you did it.
Thanks for having me.
All right.